6:10 a.m. A lot of things been on my mind about the world, you know what I mean? And I grew up Christian, right? Most people would say they Christian, right? And the one thing that God says in the Bible, or the Bible says, is do the work of the Lord, you know what I mean? And I was procrastinating, hesitating on making videos, expressing myself directly, unfiltered, just because I know that there are energies and people and spirits that don't want to see unification, you know what I mean? I really shaped my mind to be who I need to be for not just my people, but for all people, you know what I mean? And it's not about who's on top or who's on bottom, you know what I mean? Especially from a humanity standpoint, you know what I mean? I don't want anybody to think they're better than anybody else. I'm not better than anybody else. Of course, we all have pride, you know what I mean? And that's a sin in the Bible, you know what I mean? That's one of the worst sins, they say, in the Bible. And sometimes, most of the times that we're in now, we have to start putting our pride to the side. You know, it's not about my pride or your pride. It's about our generation. It's about our future, you know what I mean? You see how the world is going, you know what I mean? I know there's mottos and mantras and ways to live by, but one thing that really stuck with me was paying it forward, you know what I mean? It was always nice to be on the recipient end of that, you know what I mean? But I had to understand when I got older that it's not about you. When you have kids, it's not about you. When you're married, it's not about you. You know what I mean? When you have people looking up to you, it's not about you. It's about the positive role model you're supposed to be. You know what I mean? And if you watch movies and hear sayings, they say, you know, with great power comes with responsibility. You know what I mean? And it's to the point of what is fueling most people to just negate their responsibilities as humans, as parents, as lovers, you know what I mean? I wrote some questions down so I didn't get off topic. I basically quit little 10 questions. Like, how do you feel? You know what I mean? And I'm gonna ask the question and then answer it to my own ability. So the first question is, how do you feel about the state of the Black community? I'm a part of the Black community, of course, and I feel as if we're more divided than we ever been. You know what I mean? As free Africans, we didn't even get to experience that. You know what I mean? I was born in '94, but from the stories that they had in the media, you know what I mean, from the stories and books, we had way more camaraderie. It was more of sticking together instead of breaking apart or getting a little piece of something in, you know what I mean, trying to save it for ourselves. You know what I mean? And that was just as slaves, you know, when we stuck together. And now as free people, it's like we don't want to help nobody, you know what I mean, or even be nice to anybody, you know what I mean? I had to understand that hurt people, and we've been through a lot of hurt as Black people, you know what I mean? And as Black people, we understand, and then we understand the saying of, you know, generational curses, you know what I mean? And just like Michael Jackson was trying to say, it starts with the man in the mirror, you know? They're gonna say, people are gonna say, doesn't matter who they are, they're people who don't want you to be great or don't see greatness in themselves, They want you to be on the same level so they're not lonely. It's empty. It's emptiness inside. It's a void that we try to fill with drugs and, control and all these other devilish things, to keep that void from sucking us into a pit of despair, So it's just a cycle. And I feel like the state of the Black community is ran down, And it's to the point of, okay, we understand the power of stereotypes. Like, okay, you look at a certain person, you're like, oh, they got glasses, they're probably smart, or whatever stereotypes. I don't want to go into that, but image, power of perception is a lot. It means so much to the mind, not to you as a person in a body, but the way that your brain registers that. I'm not sure if you ever heard this saying, first impressions are everything. And sometimes we don't even have the benefit or the privilege to even display our first impression because the media, and our own people, they talk so bad about certain images of the Black woman or the Black man or the Black child to the point where you meet that person in real life and it reinforces that thought or that mindset that you had that, oh, they ain't no good or they shiesty or whatever, But if you came up and changed that whole perception, that whole mindset by taking that extra step of, not coming out in pajamas or men wearing a belt, I understand that we've been programmed and conditioned to grab hold of a certain kind of culture that makes us seem cool. But at what cost? At what cost is it to be cool instead of be happy? To the point of we're throwing our freedoms away. Our ancestors, our great-grandparents, our uncles, our aunts, they died for the right to let us live, not in cages, not forced labor with no compensation. It's a lot of things that our people died for us to squander now. For my own self, I never found the benefit of voting, just the whole political system. But I had to understand that our ancestors took a great toll, great sacrifice for me to even have that right. It's an option, but we didn't even have the right to do that. We didn't have the right to use the restroom, We didn't have the right to do certain civil liberties. And now we're at a point in 2021 where we're throwing it away. It means nothing to strive for more. It's shunned. It's, oh, you acting too good or you're acting bougie. That's how I feel about that. And it says, how do you feel about white supremacy? How do I feel about white supremacy? I hate I don't want to say the word hate or love. It's a polarizing subject. People are gonna go north or south. And I want to stay right in the middle. Honestly, I feel there's nothing wrong with that ideology. Where the problem comes into it is, I hate you. I have to oppress you. I have to be violent towards you. And that goes back to my previous statement about pride. Nothing's wrong with being happy with the skin you're in. But that doesn't mean that you have to brutalize your neighbor, or any person of that matter. You know what I mean? Because if even the terminology of white supremacy is offensive, then white people can say black power is offensive. So we just have to understand that we both should be proud of our heritage and you always have to put the past, you have to leave the past behind. You know what I mean? You have to look at the past so we don't fall victim to the past, but we have to learn from it. You know what I mean? And this continuous cycle of, it's the white man's fault, or the black people don't work hard enough. We also have to look in on ourselves of, do I know that person enough to make that assessment? This was a question I threw in there. It's like, what do I feel about basically these YouTubers or relationship gurus speaking so sternly about their opinions, specifically Kevin Samuels and like Derek Jackson. Me personally, I feel as if it's needed. Like I said, this topic is gonna be polarizing any way I look at it. It's gonna ruffle some feathers, you know what I mean? They say the truth hurts, you know what I mean? But the truth shall also set you free. I mean, I listen to other people like Charleston White, and they all make conflicting but valid points, you know what I mean? There should be order, you know what I mean? But when the real head of the household doesn't take hold of the reins, someone else has to drive the ship. And they've been driving the ship for so long, you know what I mean? They want to make it seem that way, the media, of course, but you also cannot neglect the fact that behind every great man, there's a great woman. We don't know if Barack Obama would be the man he would be today if Michelle didn't push him. But I can't give all the power to Michelle because Barack is the president. And Michelle wouldn't be in that position if Barack wasn't who he is. So it really takes two to see eye to eye and be evenly yoked in a certain situation. So Kevin Samuels, I know he comes off a certain way, especially to the alpha males or the red pills. They say he's too feminine. And of course, we could say he has that kind of behavior because of how he was raised. Just how we could say, you know what I mean, little bad boy was not taken care of. He was raised in a bad environment, you know what I mean? It's all about the environment we nurture versus nature. But that doesn't mean that we discredit the whole context or the whole dialogue that he's saying for the betterment of our people. You know what I mean? Sometimes you have to get past the messenger and understand the message. Some people are not always going to talk the way you want them to talk. Or some people are not always going to say the things that you want to hear. But you also have to look inside yourself and understand that message that they're trying to say. Kevin Samuels, I feel as if he has valid points. And he sees that psychology in a woman. I feel as if Charleston White can talk to the young generation. He has that mindset. There's people that can talk to a certain demographic to grasp their attention on certain topics. That's my feeling, you know what I mean, without going into too much detail. It says, how do you feel about kids and violent video games? How do I feel about kids and violent video games? I grew up playing video games. I grew up with technology. I grew up tech savvy. I'm probably one of the most tech savviest in my family and in my friend group, that if I have any. But I had to understand the power of media, period. Through music, I fell victim through, what is the word? Subliminal messages. I fell victim to that. You know what I mean? I know white kids or black kids or any kids, they fall victim to playing Grand Theft Auto and Modern Warfare. They fall victim of seeing those images, seeing how it registers in other people's psyches, and they want to act it out sometimes. And regardless of the fact if they don't want to act it out, God willing, is that it's wasted so much time and energy and focus from the real issues. You know, I see that we use certain substances to escape from reality, but it's to the point in 2021, it's the point in American society where we cannot no longer ignore the reality and live in a state of disillusion of, oh, it's gonna be all right. Because we also have to understand with Corona passing and coming out of Corona, which we're still in, a lot of kids and adults, parents, they're losing children through opioids, through depression, through a lot of different means. So we also have to understand the power of mental health. You know, I'm gonna say one more thing about that is that it's good to be strong. Nothing's wrong with being strong. But when you think you're so strong and you don't know your limits, you end up hurting your arm, hurting your leg. Sometimes you end up hurting your mind because you think you're emotionally able to handle that. You think you're emotionally able to handle all of those stresses and traumas and past indiscretions. And it just keeps stacking up on your mental until it just spills over into your work life, your personal life. You make rash decisions. So that whole kids and violent video games, kids and violent music, those messages spill over into the real world. You know what I mean? It's all fun and games until it's reality. You know what I mean? If you understand there's a problem with your health, how would you want to fix your condition and how? So, I'm gonna read this one more time. If you understand there's a problem with your health, how would you want to fix your condition? So, in American society, it's about the dollar. Nothing's wrong with capitalism because capitalism, they say, whatever, is the most stable form to keep the masses stable economically and nutritionally wise. So understand that America's about the dollar. You also have to look at if there's a prison industrial complex, a military industrial complex, a healthcare industrial complex. You also have to understand that even before those things were established, we found other ways of herbs and healing and prayer to heal our ailments instead of relying on a little white pill to suppress or numb the pain that we really feel inside. I don't believe any amount of drugs is gonna help your situation, anybody's situation. And it's easy to say, yeah, you know, I have mental health issues. Most people do. Most people don't know they're aware of them. Most people don't know they have them. Most people say, I'm not a beast, but they're 300 pounds. it has to be self-awareness and accountability. And when you're aware of the problems, you have to hold yourself accountable to answer those problems and find your own solution. Of course, you don't know all the answers, but I don't believe they do either. You know what I mean? We've been here for millions of years, but they don't understand the full complexity of the brain. But the computer is built after the brain. So if that computer can run all those programs, imagine what your brain can do. You know what I mean? Just imagine that. So I honestly, what I say is how to fix it. Me personally, with my mental health, I always try to relate it back to spirituality. Okay, they say I have schizophrenia. I say, okay, how did Moses, or what does schizophrenia relate to spirituality? It says this, when I read it a while back, it says Moses was having a schizophrenic episode when he received the commandments. I feel as if the mind is so powerful that we don't even understand. It's unfathomable. You know what I mean? If they say that telekinesis is real or possible, or hypnosis, you know what I mean? The brain is beautifully made. Our bodies are beautifully made. So I also have to look at it from a spiritual, definitely from a spiritual aspect, because you have to understand, before we were made in God's image, we were spirits. It's a blessing to be in human form, because once we leave human form, we're back in the spirit realm. I've never experienced that from a personal realm, but I understand that America makes money off of horror films, love films, drawing on your emotions. So we have to understand that we have to keep our psyche and our mental facility clear and focused on the ultimate goal. Some people, philosophers, scientists, highly intellectual people, or some people sitting right now watching this video would say, what is life all about? That is the real question. But it's simple, to say the least, is to spread God's word. And that's all I can really say without expounding on that. If I take that same question about fixing your health and relay it back to the Black community, how would we fix the condition we are in? How would we fix the condition that we are in as free Black Americans? That's a really hard question. And a simple answer would be, it starts with the nuclear family. Honestly, as a man, let's make it about the reality, all right? Men get punished harsher than women. If you don't understand that or you don't believe me, just look at prison sentences compared to women offenders versus male offenders. And you have to understand that if it's a system, if it's a game, if it's a matrix, you have to play by their rules, because there's rules to all of the games. The one real rule that I had to understand is that it's a cosmic law. Just like how God said that there's free will, that's a cosmic law of decision and choice. That's your personal decision. When you make your free will, you're picking the right-hand path or the left-hand path. The left-hand path will stray you further away from God. The right-hand path will bring you closer to God. And that is the real purpose of the entity of Satan, the devil, is to just get you so far away from God, emotionally, intellectually, spiritually, get you so far away, you don't even understand the presence of God. That is the main objective, to get you so far away that you're confused, you're doubtful. God didn't put you here. God didn't put you here out of mistake, out of chance. You were put here to fulfill a role in society. It's not to be a number in the prison system. It's not to be a tombstone in the graveyard. But it's here to bring glory to Him, to be real. Of course, it's nice for generational wealth, but even the happiest people alive aren't happy. You know, it's actually a burden to be so arrogant, so selfish. You know what I mean? That karma will come. We all have a price to pay. But I mean, it's crazy that we all have to price to pay, because I'm not saying that to be scary or to sound authoritative, but if we understand, if anybody with religious background understand that Judgment Day is coming, you feel me? And we don't know when, we don't know how, but if God, the ultimate creator, said, spread love, love your neighbor, be your brother's keeper, and spread my word, I mean, that's what I'm gonna do to my last breath. You know, if you couldn't blame or make an excuse, how would you be responsible for the accountability? If I couldn't blame or make an excuse about anything, which I don't, and I can't say that I don't, because that might be an excuse or cover up or a fallacy or whatever. How would I be responsible for the accountability? And that's the problem. If you do not take the blame, or if you don't recognize the error of your ways, it's a cycle of passing the blame when you're really the one that should be holding your choice accountable. As humans, we all need different things. But the one thing we need to be able to do is hold ourselves accountable. I believe when you pass the blame or you take on the victimization role, you lose a sense of power. And that adds to that empty void of despair and hopelessness. And as humans, we need hope. That's what Barack ran his campaign on, was hope. We have to hope for a better day. You know, we have to keep praying and hoping and living to the best of our ability. I know it's hard. I know it's exhausting. But you know, it's the easiest thing to do is to lay in bed all day. That's the easiest thing to do. It's hard to go out there and work. It's hard to go out there and make money. It's hard to go out there and please somebody else. Not for your benefit, but for the benefit of all people. It's hard. But that's what makes victory that much sweeter. Because you actually understood that I don't want to be like the easy way out. I don't want to be like that person I despise. You know? I had to think to myself that even a child can lie. Even a child can steal. But it takes a mature mind. It takes a person with integrity to not take that candy bar. It takes a person with integrity to not lie or to look fear straight in the face. It takes a person with accountability, responsibility, integrity, everything that every person should want. What's the role of a wife? Oof. Role of a wife. The way that I can, it's just a companion. It's really not a partner. It's someone who is there with you. You know what I mean? Partners, that's another way of looking at it. But a companionship, that's different. You know what I mean? Regardless of what you can do for me, but it's about, can we live happily together? You know? The one thing that puts a strain on my own life and relationship is the spirit of lust or the spirit of boastfulness. Sometimes you have to kill your old self to conceive that person you want to be. Chicago Red would never been Malcolm X if he still wanted to live like Chicago Red. So, saying that and looking back into myself, that I can't treat my relationships as if I'm single or I can get another one. Because at the end of the day, especially no child or not, sex is a very pure thing for humans. You don't go around showing your breast. Not your breast, I covered up just for this video. You don't show. You're not supposed to see another man's nakedness. It says that in the book, you know. So if you understood that your body's a temple, there's certain areas of that temple that should be sacred, you know. It's easy to be exposed, but it's hard to cover up. You know, it's hard to hide your riches. It's hard to hide your beauty, you know. So looking at other cultures with, you know what I mean, the head garments, it's a double-edged sword, you know, but it's done to bring out the overall good, you know, of purity. You know, I would hate to say that America's not pure, because even if third world countries or other superpowers can look at America with such disdain or hate, we have to start somewhere. Like, it cannot keep continuing. You know what I mean? From blacks hating blacks. I'm talking from black men hating the black man, from black men hating black women, from black women hating black men, from black women hating black women, from, you know, black men and black women are despising the children, from the black mothers talking negative towards their own seed, from black men always taunting their younger generation. It's a sad condition we're in as a people, you know what I mean? And I really say this because I'm black and it's a black issue, but it brings problems to other cultures. If our own people hate each other so much that you'll kill each other in the middle of the street, how does that affect a person with another culture that's trying to raise their children the right way? It makes those other cultures that may only see us on media, through the news or social media, this is where they're going to get you. I don't really watch the news, period. But I'm informative. I like to stay informed. But when I watch the news, major news, it's informative, but it's only negative information. I'm not saying that the news is wrong, but they're reporting on negative information. In the black community, as a black man, from the movie Paid in Full, they say, niggas die every day, B. So as a black person, I don't watch the news because another senseless nigga, another senseless violence, another senseless soul gone. And in back of my mind, niggas die every day, B. And me brushing off that as another tragedy, so what? That cycle has to stop, really. Like, for me to even push that to the back of my mind to say, so what? That could be me. That can be someone else's child. You know what I mean? And that's the level of, it's the only word I can think of, ignorance that white people will show towards black people, is that they see so much of killing on the news. They see so much of negative music, so much negative music videos, that they just, so what? So what? So what if they're dead? They don't tip good. You know what I mean? They don't do nothing but play basketball and football. You know? And if white people can have that kind of attitude, and black people can perpetrate those kind of actions, like what are we doing as Americans? You know what I mean? Where's our American pride? You know, I understand that it's easy to hate America, but other superpowers, Russia, China, they hate America because they feel as if we're so free. And they hate us because of that. You know, they hate us because of that, bro. They hate us because we can sit up there at the buffet and fight over crab legs while they over there working, breathing in toxins to get a scrap of food. They go to the store, bananas be $50. They only got $2 the whole month. That's crazy. They have to eat rice for the whole month. Rice? You know what I mean? Of course, you know what I mean? At least we got the ramen with the flavor packets, but you see some of these other countries, man, we have to be appreciative to even be able to drive down a road that's paved evenly. We have to be appreciative that we don't have toxic pollution in our air. We have to be appreciative of the innovations that we have been given to a society and not use them for just strictly negative gain for money. For money. Compromising our morals for money. You know. Should men and women be married from a government contractual level? that whole goes back with the America thing. And I had to I had to put in certain sections how I dealt with things. I had to deal with things differently. America is different than white people. America is a country, you know what I mean? America symbolizes certain things, you know. So when I say government contractual marriage, it's more of going down to the courthouse and signing a legal paper of bringing two corporations or two entities or two people together. You know, it's a business. From the wedding day to the divorce day, it's a business, you know what I mean? And it's a system. The way to weaken that system is to stay married. You know, Steve Harvey, I'm not really big on the guy. Yeah, I mean, of course he does his thing, but Steve Harvey said something that's really profound. He said, if you're going through hell, don't stop, man. Keep going. You know what I mean? Because it's going to end sometime. I feel as if that's the real problem with the main black family. Now that I have my own son, that when things seem to get too stressful or too overbearing, you want to throw in a white flag. But that doesn't heal the damage that's there. We actually need that person to nurture us back to good health. You know, when we leave each other in a damaged state, it's basically like that person that you gave your all to and that you gave your all to, they broke that. They broke that trust. They broke that purity that you had in your relationship. And then they passed that grief that you brought to them onto you. You have to, as a man, this is directed towards the man, we have to understand that if we're going to impregnate that woman or we're going to sleep with that woman, there's things that come with that. We cannot run away from our responsibilities. What kind of man is that? Period. Like, what kind of man is that? As a black man, we can't always be about being the biggest buck. You know what I mean? Sometimes nowadays, most of the time, we have to have the biggest mind. We also have to learn how to control our emotional intelligence in the home, controlling what goes in our children's mind, how we perceive the world, how we interact with our loved ones. How are we going to influence them to be great? How are we going to guide them to prosperity instead of poverty? Back when they were slaves, back when our ancestors were slaves, back when white people were slaves, there wasn't this contractual obligation. I can speak from my own culture that when we were committed to each other from a romantic, personal level, spiritual level, we jumped the broom. And no other body except God, the husband, the wife, and the child had any say over that. But now when we go down to the courthouse, we got America in our business. I'm not saying keep them out, keep the white man out of business, because it's not about the white man. Honestly, they're just a big brother. And I'm a big brother, you know. It's funny, I have a little brother. It's funny because it's a dynamic. It's always a power struggle between the little brother and the big brother. We're never gonna fight the big brother. We can never beat the big brother because the big brother still has time and experience over us. America's been here, but America's been here when the first slave was brought here, and America has been here since the last slave was freed. And we have to learn how to live in America together as black and white people. I'm not afraid of white folks, but I understand that black folks can kill. I understand white folks can kill. But we also have to understand that we shouldn't have to kill. I understand that there's criminals. Of course, they should be punished. Of course. But that doesn't mean that we still negate our loving side of who we are as humans. It's easy to be conditioned to hate. But when that love overflows, it feels so good. Like, I'm not sure if you ever had this situation that you might not know where to turn. You might not have money to get somewhere, or you might need somebody to cover your shift because you have personal problems. Technically, nobody has to do anything for you. But when they do that small gesture of, damn, I ain't eat all day. You ain't eat all day? Here you go, you get some food. Or, oh, you need gas money? Here you go, $10. It does something for that person so profound that it just boosts their mood. Hopefully. I believe so. And when you're giving from a place of love and respect for humanity, it's a different kind of fullness you get right now. Like, it's not about materialistic. It's not about money. It's not about who has the best or who has the shiniest. Dr. Martin Luther King said, you got to judge a man by his character. I might have butchered the quote. But ever since we've came here, it's been targeted to assassinate the black image. First, we were terrorized by the Ku Klux Klan, and now we have our own gangs terrorizing our own communities to the point where it's on autopilot. We don't even have to go burn no swastikas in your yard. We were our own worst enemy. And that's the real problem. Because that's the power of free will. They couldn't continue down that path. Especially from a mass societal oppressive state. You have to let people make their own choices. And the power of the brain, through hypnosis, through prayer, through meditation, there's so many things that we're incapable of knowing because we don't know what we don't know. And we have been programmed through media. We have been conditioned through interactions. And we are the outcomes of our past indiscretions. We are the outcomes of our past failures. I'm going to sign off. It's at the 50-minute mark. Kind of went over my 30-minute time limit, but I felt like this is something that needs to be said. And there's a lot more topics and a lot more ideologies that need to be broken down. Black power is great. Nothing's wrong with white supremacy. Let everybody love themselves. But don't hate other people because they love themselves. Or don't hate someone else because you hate yourself. Learn to love yourself and learn to love your neighbor. You may have differences, but I'm pretty sure that there's some common things that you can bond on. Because when we were marching for those civil rights, the media couldn't sway those white folks back at home watching television. You know, because they'll say, wow, those people marching, they look like me with those suits on and they pray with their Bible and they prayer armory on. They look just like me. You know, but now we're indistinguishable from our real selves. You know, indistinguishable from our own selves. We can't even tell our own selves apart, to the point where we taking off accessories, you know, we taking off, you know, a mask. Back when Black Power was at its height, baby girl, baby boy, young man, young woman, elder, we embraced our natural beauty. We embraced our natural spirit of the Lord, of that omnipresence. You know air is there, but you don't see it. I'm gonna just say, give all the glory to God. Pray for the answers. Pray for the journey that you need to go on to be the better person that you need to be. Submit yourself to Him. There's nobody higher than Him. It's very selfish and arrogant to say, I don't know if He's real. But there's plenty of new discoveries every day. But God's been here since the beginning of time. Don't disrespect the Creator. Don't disrespect the Creator. You know what I mean? He's a savior for all mankind. Not just for my people, but for everybody. I'm here to not ostracize or victimize or separate or divide anybody. We all need to come together, at least as Americans, at least as humanity. From people in China to Russia to Brazilian to African, we all need to understand that it's about love. You know, it makes no sense in being greedy when you're not happy. Because if you're, what's the point of greed? What are you feeling? If it's just how do you fill a hole that's never filled? And you know, it's basically like we're in a trap. Quicksand. You know, we want to fight against the nature, but it's always going to over prevail. We're in a trap. I'm gonna sign off. Never lied on my records, that's a fact. All my verses natural to my unique black style. I couldn't even cap. One of these, it'll all be over. It'll all be over. And we won't have to cry no
I was afraid of you, Julius. I only saw what I was afraid of. And now I know I was only hating my brother.
I tell you what, though. When all this is over, and you gonna move out the same neighborhood together, okay? And we'll get old, we'll get fat. And ain't gonna be all this black-white between us.
Left side.
Strong side.
And we won't have to cry no more.
Baby, I care for you, I want you comfortable. Go from eating Lunchables to living like the Huxtables. Sunday service on the weekend so our kids won't be heathens. Mom's crib for the day, get granny's cooking on the plate. Soul food, stick to the ribs. Loving on my queens, need them to live. Women in my life strong, raised me since a kid.